Minister, I'm asking particularly about the interaction between you and your department and the authorities in Northern Ireland, because as you know, I've worked for a long time, quietly away in the background, trying to promote dialogue and discussion and to persuade people that the way forward for us all on this island is through that dialogue and political activism. So I'd be interested in getting an update from you about the dialogue between North and South, particularly in that context.
Thank you, Deputy. And just to say, I fully support your own sentiment in that there needs to be continuous engagement, I suppose, between governments in general, but also between individual departments and ministries. I'm pleased to say there's ongoing contact between myself and my colleague Naomi Long, who is the Minister for Justice in Northern Ireland, as well as excellent ongoing cross-border cooperation between our respective departments. And this is on a range of issues, obviously, as well as between An Garda Síochána and the Policing Service of Northern Ireland and other agencies that are within our competencies and their counterparts. As the Deputy will be aware, the Intergovernmental Agreement, or the IGA, on cooperation on criminal justice, it's the main formal stream of ongoing joint work within the Department of Justice in Northern Ireland. Under the IGA, Justice Ministers from the two jurisdictions meet regularly to discuss criminal justice matters of mutual interest or concern and to develop plans to achieve more effective cooperation and coordination on justice matters. The last IGA ministerial meeting was held virtually in February, which Minister Long and I agreed a new plan of work to run until the end of 2023, and the next ministerial meeting under the IGA is being planned for the autumn. I have to say, unfortunately, the timing of the last number of meetings with COVID coming and going and figures, they have all been online, so we haven't had a chance in that particular format to meet in person. Obviously, the Garda Commissioner and his equivalent in the North, as well as a number of representative organisations, are on the call. But the plan is that we will be hosting the next meeting in the autumn, and hopefully that will be in person. And obviously, we'll be delighted to welcome Minister Long, if she's still in that position, assuming so, obviously at that stage. Under the IGA, a senior officials working group oversees cooperation in a number of criminal justice areas, including forensic science, we have public protection, victim support, youth justice matters, and this group met last March and includes senior policy makers from all of the relevant areas from both jurisdictions. Outside of the formal network of the IGA, there is regular North-South cooperation. Minister Long and I have recently engaged on victims' issues. We issued a joint statement to mark International Women's Day on the topic of consent, and we have discussed regularly, in particular in the areas of domestic, sexual and gender-based violence, how we can work collectively and how we can progress our laws and our policies. And you'll see in the North they have introduced stalking legislation, something that we are now introducing and hope to have enacted later on this year. Separate to that, then, maybe just to note, my Secretary-General, Una McPhillips, met with her counterpart recently, so at that senior official level as well, there is that ongoing contact. Thank you.
Okay.
Minister, I think there's a slightly wider role to this, because we are co-guarantors in this state of the Good Friday Agreement. And I don't know if you're aware of the fact that there are people in Northern Ireland who are awaiting trial for up to 8 years and have been held on remand and incredibly strict bail conditions for that period of time. And I think that this is contrary to basic human rights, but I also think that one fundamental tenet of the law has to be that everybody not only is entitled to justice, but justice in good time. There are also very long remands in Northern Ireland, much longer than you'd have in most states. And again, have you raised concerns, or are you willing to raise concerns regarding these incredibly long periods of remand and bail that are taking place? And I can provide you, if you want, with further details about the cases. A document has been prepared that outlines the very serious human rights concerns involved here. I was wondering, would you be willing to raise this with your counterpart? Because justice has to be two ways, and the justice system in itself must act in a fair and just manner.
Again, I would agree with the Deputy. I think we all have a role to play when it comes to upholding and maintaining the Good Friday Agreement and the relations and the way in which people on this island have I suppose, how our relationship has developed. And I think, firstly, from my own point of view, in terms of my engagement with Minister Long, but in terms of the department's engagement, a significant way in which we can uphold the Good Friday Agreement is by maintaining peace and obviously making sure that those who seek to disrupt that peace, they're brought to justice, and that's why the work that I mentioned previously of the IGA is so vital in this regard. If you look at some of the areas that we've worked on in the last number of years, drug crime, rural crime, financial crime, trafficking and human crime, obviously this including children and exploitation of women many times for sexual reasons, excise fraud and organised immigration crime. So we know that a lot of the I suppose a lot of the different types of behaviours in the north from paramilitary groups as well have crossed over into these types of crimes. So it's really important for us to be able to uphold and to maintain that peace, that work continues and that continues, I suppose, at a ministerial level, but also between our police services and between the various different departments. In terms of cases that you've mentioned, I'm not aware of them, but obviously happy to talk to you afterwards or at a different level specifically relating to them. Thank you.
Minister, one of the groups you alluded to there has been on ceasefire since January 2018, and I understand that that's accepted by the police service of Northern Ireland. However, its members are, as I said, in some cases on bail for very long periods. People who were associated with that organisation are often stopped and searched. And this is of great concern. And in fact, the level of stop and searching in the Republican communities or national community is totally disproportionate. As you know, Minister, prisoners in the north also get a service half the sentence in prison and the other half out of prison. And at Easter time, one of the prisoners who was out on licence informed MARA, which is the overseeing body, that they intended attending an Easter parade, which was not an strange request from a Republican. This parade had official permission from the Parades Commission and from the authorities. He was asked a number of questions, they were replied by a solicitor. He attended the parade and they revoked his licence as a consequence. If I provide the details of this, will you take this up with your northern counterpart? Because I said justice is a two-way system, and the state has to act with justice, as well as our demand that all people act within the law.
Deputy, again, without knowing the details of the case, I'm happy to talk to the Deputy outside of the Chamber. As you've rightly pointed to, and as we all know, there are current arrangements in place and agreements which were reached following a ceasefire, in particular around prisoners, be it in the north and in the south. And those arrangements are arrangements that we adhere to here. And it's important that we do in ensuring that we can maintain that peace. But I think it's important to acknowledge as well that there are those who wish to disrupt that, and there are those who continue to engage in criminal activity and behaviour, and we need to make sure that the resources are there and that the engagement continues between our police service north and south to try and disrupt that insofar as possible. But again, I'm happy to discuss and to engage with the Deputy afterwards. Thank you.